Chris Moenster, you're a Army National Guard veteran and an active member within the county. We're here at the Republican kind of end of the year party for the Republican. And so Chris, just tell me a little bit, you're on the Planning and Zoning Board. You're also in the Republican Central Committee. What are some of the things that you feel are really important to know for our viewers to know about you?
Well, thank you, Oscar. I appreciate you having me. So I'm a lifelong Jefferson County resident. The only time I haven't lived here was when I was away for public service. I spent some time away when I worked for the Missouri Highway Patrol, and of course when I was gone for military duty all around the world. And so when I settled back down here in Jefferson County after some of those things, I always wanted to be a part of our community and part of our political process. So I found out that there was lots of opportunities to volunteer, and that seemed like the best path for me, where I could volunteer and help with good conservative issues, and then help the people of Jefferson County by serving on a board or a commission. I had been speaking with our county executive for several years about serving on a board or a commission, and just recently he found one for me where it was a good fit, and so I'm a commissioner on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I live here with my family, with my wife and my girl Crystal, and we have a small family place over by Grandview School, kind of in the southwest part of the county. And like I said, this county's been good to me, and being brought up in a conservative family and with conservative principles, I just wanted to be part of that and carry that on and be part of this county's future as well.
Very good. So got a couple series of questions. The first one, just kind of talk about the election. So 2024 election was a big win for the Republican Party as a whole. So what is your overall reaction for the presidential election results?
Yeah, so obviously I'm pleased. I'm happy, and it's not just the presidential results. You know, the down ballot red wave that carried the House and the Senate, the fact that the president with a House and a Senate behind him could get confirmations through and help look at some of the positions in the bureaucracy and the deep state in Washington that perhaps need updated and perhaps need some people who are loyal to the administration and its policies versus careerists who are loyal only to their three-letter organization. So like the ripple effect of that presidential election probably will be felt for years to come all over the country. You know, it's quite possible he could get a chance to appoint another Supreme Court justice, and that's huge, you know, the effect that could have on our country. And then locally here in Missouri, we remained a red state. Senator Hawley faced some tough competition from Mr. Kuntz. That was not an easy race, but held on and won. All across the statewide elected positions, the Republicans held on. Unfortunately, on some of the issues in Missouri, not as much success for what I would consider a conservative outcome on issues, especially Amendment 3. And over the last few years, it's been kind of a litany of outsider influence, you know, probably George Soros type funded issues on our ballots through the initiative petition system that I don't feel like comport with the vast majority of Missourians. You look at the expansion in gambling, the expansion in recreational drugs, you look at the morality issues like abortion. And we're continuing to see in Missouri that if you have $250,000, you can get a petition together and you can get it on the ballot. And then if you spend a little more money and convince people in 7 counties to vote for it, it becomes the law of the land of Missouri. And so that was an unfortunate outcome in this election, and I hope to see some work over the next legislative session and over Governor Kehoe's term to see if we can't find a better way to make law in Missouri, where the vast geographic majority of the state isn't held hostage by a small demographic majority in 6 or 7 counties.
Next question deals with conservative influence. How do you believe conservative values resonated with the voters nationally as well as here in Missouri?
So it's interesting because if you watch the mainstream media, they talk about the economy. When we go back to Bill Clinton's quote during his second term when he was running for a second term, it's about the economy, stupid, right? Famous, we remember it, right? But I wonder, is it really always about the economy, or do people vote their conscience?
I guess it depends on your definition of is.
Right. So it depends. It's very easy to twist the message and look at, why people won, why people lost. And I think the answer is different everywhere. And I will tell you, in some places, I know, I feel people voted their conscience. And you look at the liberal agenda and progressive agenda in this country, and it pushes immorality, and it pushes an absence of law. And you can see the results in our bigger cities with kind of the chaos and the confusion, the lawlessness. And I think people have turned their back to that and realized the fruits of that philosophy is anarchy. And as a civil society, I think they turned their backs on that. Did the economy matter? Absolutely. The horrific inflation rates, you look at gas prices, food prices, everything across the board, did not help the Democrat Party this election. But I think a lot of people voted their conscience. And so those conservative values, whether you're leaning left, leaning right, or centrist, they have an appeal. And that appeal is order, a rule of law, a value on human life. And that message resonates across the entire political spectrum. I would not be surprised if after they autopsy this election, they find a lot of left-leaning people that voted for Republican candidates.
Mm-hmm. So why do you pardon? How do you think that will move the conservative, move the Republican Party in what direction, per se?
Sure. And so it's hard to predict the future, mm-hmm. right? But I go back to, one of my favorite election cycles in history that I've looked at is Eisenhower's. So you look at Eisenhower's first 4 years, and a little difficult, a little stumbling, but he caught on in his second 4 years, his second term. He found what he called that middle way. And that middle way didn't involve compromising principles that, are unbending. What it involved was appealing to the greatest number of people through a message that they understood, right? And so what I hope to see with the Republican Party and with conservatives in general is that we understand that there's nothing wrong with a mainstream Republican. Not everyone has to be radical to the right. There's nothing wrong with a mainstream Republican that supports your platform and supports your candidates and gets out their pocketbook and supports your candidates and talks to their neighbors about voting for your candidates. So what I'd like to see is, kind of, if you look at Eisenhower's second 4 years, that middle way that he found, which Eisenhower never compromised on his principles, but he wasn't afraid to reach out with the broadest message possible that would attract a long-term following to the party. And so I think moving forward, there are times to be fiery and to have strong rhetoric and to look at an agenda item that other people might not be thinking of. There are times for that. But there's also times to appeal to the great moral majority that Nixon talked about. That great moral majority that sometimes are sitting at home silently just looking for good leadership and looking for people who have principles-based leadership. And so I'd like to see the Republican Party go that way. And I think they have that in them. And I think it's very, very possible. And we see it with some of Trump's choices already for, just starting for vice president and then going down to some of his cabinet choices. He's definitely opened the tent with RFK, So I think it's a good time for the Republican Party to look at opening the tent, opening their arms, and accepting people in, right? So hopefully that's where we get.
Very good. So leadership is definitely not something that you have veered from in your career. So with leadership comes engagement. So this next question deals with youth engagement. So how can conservatives better connect with younger voters in Missouri, Jefferson County, and continue to support the future? Not only with the club here, with the Republican Party, but keep that flame alive. What are some things that you could share with our viewers?
Of course.
To recommend.
So one thing I think that would help is getting on the appropriate platform. It matters. It really matters. My daughter doesn't get on Facebook. That's for old people. And she's 20. So she doesn't get on Facebook. That's for old people. My daughter doesn't read a newspaper. And one comes to our house every week. She has never picked it up, not once, right? So one thing is getting on the appropriate platform, right? And that helps. And then the second thing is your message. And I think your message can be that this is a place to learn. This is a place that accepts differing viewpoints, but they will not cross the line on certain principles. These are our principles, and if you can't agree to some base platform principles, you're not for us, right? And that has its own appeal, right? Exclusivity has its own appeal. Everyone's okay, you're okay, I'm okay, we're all okay no matter what we do. That's too easy. So I think the message matters. I think the platform matters.
Raise the bar.
Yes,
and
excellence matters, right? And I think the final thing is this. I think opportunity matters. And we have some opportunity. So the Jefferson County Republican Club has been wonderful. I'm not on the board. I'm just a member. So I'm not part of their major decision-making processes. But they do have an opportunity to expand. There is nationwide support and funding through the party for clubs at the high school level. Okay, so you have the county Republican clubs, you have college Republicans, and then you have young Republicans. And those young Republicans are the high school level clubs, right? And luckily in Missouri, you can have almost any high school level club you want, as long as it's not based on hate or violence or injury to others. So that's why our schools in this county have a Bible club and a prayer club and a pro-choice club, right? But we can have a Republican club. So I think they have some opportunities there to get across to young people. But I think you have to be right platform, right message, and take that opportunity.
Very good. Just one more question for you, Chris. Looking ahead, what is the most critical issue Republicans in Missouri need to focus on before the 2026 midterms?
Oh, it's simple to me. It's one issue, and I think it needs to be fixed this session. That's the initiative petition process in Missouri. And it's not a personality contest. It's not a sexy, argument between two popular people arguing out and trying to convince you of one thing or the other. It's just hard legislation and sitting down and nugging out the appropriate way to fix that initiative petition process. It needs to be reformed. Through the IP process, Missouri's Constitution has become somewhat of a joke. I mean, it's, I think, up to 350 something pages.
Yeah, I think originally in 1820, not 21, 1820, it was 12 pages.
Well, I mean, how depending on the size of the paper you print it on, right? The U.S. Constitution is 6 or 7. When you put it on the big paper, maybe 20, 30 in a little handbook. It's gotten to be a joke. And not only has it gotten to be a joke, it's gotten to be dangerous.
And unenforceable.
It is. And, well, and difficult to interpret. I would hate to be a Missouri Supreme Court justice and have to sit down and interpret the Missouri Constitution right now when a case came to me. Because all the initiative petition items that go in there, it's not just one line like that's an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It's pages and pages of a bill. And that's what the legislature's for, right? So I'm not for taking the voice of the people away, but the voice of the people needs to go through the proper path that our founding fathers intended, and that's through our representatives.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you, Chris, for your time here with Show Me Sentinel. Would you like to mention any specific project that you're working on or group or anything, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Oscar. I appreciate you having me. I don't have anything in the fire right now, but I would encourage people in Jefferson County to participate. What happens in politics is not just what you read on the news. It's what happens to you. It's your life. So come to your county council meeting. Come to my planning and zoning commission meeting with me and my fellow commissioners and see how the political process works. It's fruitful. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll learn something. And you may find something that you want to do. So I would encourage that.
Very good. Well, thank you, Chris, for your service in the military as well as your service now as a civilian.
Thank you, Oscar. You're welcome.
Great.